What's going on? All right. What do we got here? Spider Pig. Spider Ham. My fault. Spider Ham. Okay. Let's talk briefly about cycles and patterns. And you have probably heard the old phrase, the old adage, if you will, that we're creatures of habit. We are, right? We are creatures of habit. I prefer the term cycles and patterns rather than habits. Habits is one of those overused words for some reason. I like these better. Anyway, patterns and cycles, right? Things are cyclic. History repeats itself. We know that to be true as well. So, how does this apply and how does this work out for us in terms of fitness and health and all this kind of stuff, right? The issue with most people, especially when you're talking about weight loss and getting in shape, is not getting into shape or losing weight. That happens for most people. Now, what happens typically after the weight loss is regaining the weight. Okay. And why does this happen? It happens because we have not broken the patterning. We have not created a new pattern and a new cycle to replace the old one. That takes a long time. That takes consistency, months and years. And even then, sometimes we can fall. We can fall back into old patterns. We can fall back into old cycles. We can relapse, if you will. We see that with substance abuse. We know, being in law enforcement or being a first responder, like that, relapses happen all the time, and to the tune of about 90%. So any court ordered drug program, right? Doesn't matter where it is or what it is, like the relapse rate, the recidivism rate is like 90%. So if they're saying that it's less than that, side note, if they're saying that it's less than that because they need some more funding, they're lying and playing games with numbers, because that number doesn't change. We know that drugs are very addictive, and addictive drugs cause people to relapse. That's part of it. It's almost like you plan for it when you talk about counseling people like that, like you plan for a relapse, right? So anyway, it's not out of the realm for you to relapse as well, or me to relapse as well back into old patterns. Now, hopefully those patterns aren't smoking meth, but those patterns are simply like eating a bag of gummy worms. I just did it today, actually. Granted, I fit that into my numbers, but it still was like an old pattern that I developed when I was like 6 years old with my dad, right? I remember my dad getting boxes of ice cream bars and we would crush those things on the way home. And that's something that I have patterned over and over again, and I continue to do from time to time in my life. Now, if I don't acknowledge that pattern, acknowledge that relapse, and then address that and know, like, all right, that I can't do that all the time, then I can put the good patterning, the stuff that I have now, into place, and it will hold up, and I won't relapse again, or I won't relapse as many times that it's going to cause damage. That is the thing. That's why you need to be aware of these patterns. And most of the time, when we're talking about like fitness and stuff, but it really applies to everything. If you don't identify those patterns and you just try to force your way and willpower your way through, it'll probably work for a time. But you have to identify patterns. You have to identify cycles. If you don't do that, then you really can't interrupt this wheel. And you have to be able to interrupt the wheel so it stops it from continuing. And you see the same thing with relationships. Again, being in the world that we live in as cops and first responders, how many times you see somebody get divorced and immediately get back into a relationship that looks identical to the one they just got out of. And then go figure, like, oh, they're getting divorced again too. And this happens again and again. And you see that same thing through national statistics, and second marriages fail much more than first marriages and on, right? As first responders, we are no exception to that, right? We fall into the same categories. Now, the only reason I mention that is because it's all the same. Like the patterns and the cycles are all the same. If you don't figure out why something broke in the first place, then it's going to break again. It's just going to. So you have to figure out the whys. And that can be a painful, pain in the ass process, but it needs to be done. Like, why do I do this? And that's when you start digging into things like we talk about, like why things fail, right? Why do you fail at things? You either don't know the information, you have a knowledge gap, you have a belief problem, you don't believe that you are worthy, you don't believe that you can do it, it's a self-esteem issue maybe, right? Or it's thirdly, and this is the most common, is that you have a routine problem. You have an application into putting the information into real time in your life, right? That's the most common. But if you have this up and down stuff where you're like, I'm good, I'm off, I'm good, I'm off, I'm good, I'm off, I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight, I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight, right? And you can't ever seem to get any real traction for an extended period of time, then that is probably a combination of belief issue and application. It's a combination of both of those, because you have the knowledge, you know how to get the weight off, you know how to get in shape, you know how to build muscle, you know how to do whatever it is you're trying to do, but it's not sticking. If it's not sticking, that's a belief issue. You don't believe that you're worthy. You don't believe that you can sustain it. And it sounds kind of like a little hippie-ish to say you don't believe that you're worthy. Yeah, I do. And you say that on its face, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes we feel like we're an imposter, and it's, I don't belong here. I don't think I can do it. So it's maybe worthy is a bad word. Maybe it's more, you don't believe that it's sustainable because you've never done it before. Maybe you've never seen anyone do it before, and then you don't believe that you can do it. You don't believe that you have the strength to do it or the consistency to do it or whatever, because you've never done it before. Either way, it is a belief system issue that needs to be addressed. And maybe it's some of all of that, right? Which is probably the case. There's probably little pieces of that are all true, right? You don't think that you're worthy of it. You don't believe that you can sustain it, and you've never seen it before. So why, or it's too late for whatever, right? These are stories that are playing in your head that is really, it's really, when you dig into the psychology of it, it's ego defense, right? Your ego is trying to defend you from failing. It's trying to keep you from failing. And the way that it's doing that is really fucked up, right? The way that it is doing that is to keep you from starting. It's to keep you from succeeding. All right. So this whole idea of like self-sabotage, that's a belief system problem. And it is steeped in ego defense, right? Your ego doesn't want to let you fail. It wants to keep your psyche whole, intact, right? So it's just going to not let you start. It's going to not let you succeed. Like, you're going to do things that are out of character for a successful person. Why? Because your ego doesn't want you to fail, and you're too afraid of failing. So you'll screw it up on your own terms. That's the way it works in certain ways. So it's an ego defense thing. It's a belief system thing. Either way, like, we need to rewire some things. We need to run some new stories in order to create new patterns and cycles and habits. Okay. And then in the process, like, we're taking this also and putting it into play with your schedule, with your application to your job, with your application to your work schedule, your real life, your family life. Like, we're putting it into play and making it work, right? So if we don't address both of those, then at some point, even if you have success, even if you lose weight, even if you do the things that you set up to do, you're going to fall back, right? You're going to fall back. So we need to address these things. If we fail to address these things, like, it's going to be all for naught. That's statistically, that's what happens. People like lose weight, they gain it back, and they lose it and they gain it back, and they lose it and they gain it back. And that's not a healthy way to live either. We got to create sustainability. We have to create long-term success. We have to do it, right? Especially with the stress of this job. You cannot go through these massive, like, long-term swings of being healthy and unhealthy. And in the midst of that, you're also going through these little micro swings where it's like every shift is like stress and like sympathetic, parasympathetic, up and down and up and down and up and down. We're up and down all day, with stress. Up and down all day. So you have to be strong enough to buffer that out on a daily level, and you have to be able to be strong enough to buffer it out on the micro and the macro, on the yearly, on the decade level. You have to be able to do it, or you become a statistic. That's the reality of it. You become a statistic, and at 55, you'll be dead. 5 years after retirement, you'll be dead. That's not the way to go through this job. It's not the way to go through this profession. You should not do that. Let's not do that. Let's do more. Let's be better. Let's be better right now. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to cook some steaks. And if you got questions on any of this stuff, let me know. Live heroic today and tomorrow. and forever. See, how's things going?
That's good. I don't know if I started logging my stuff pretty accurately for what I'm eating and stuff, and it's like actually I'm understanding the numbers a little bit now.
Yeah.
The one thing when it comes to like eating and stuff that I'm actually is freaking hard is sugar is in everything, literally everything, and I don't. It's just I feel like and there's something that has sugar in it, like everything that I eat. I haven't drank any alcohol in a long time though, so
Okay.
like I don't really drink a whole lot anyway. But I probably would have had some beers today, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm doing okay on the like eating portion of it. It's getting repetitive, which I expected, just eating the same stuff over and over, which is fine. I don't know if it's just because I weighed myself in the morning, but I've gone down like 3 or 4 pounds.
Yeah. Good.
But I was weighing myself like right before I would work out at 4 p.m. And then a couple days ago, I started weighing myself in the morning, and I'm obviously lighter in the morning. So I don't know if that had to do with it, but
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Just be consistent with it. It's really more about that, but it's easier to be consistent in the mornings than it is like throughout the day. There's gonna be a lot of variables throughout the day that are gonna throw the scale off in different directions. Yeah, just I'd pick a time in the morning right away when you can just get that recorded, get that metric down, and then move on.
okay. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
as far as the sugar thing goes, like being aware of it is actually doing more than what you would think. You know what I mean? You're aware. That's like a big thing. Even if you're not going to be able to eliminate all of it, like being aware of it is going to reduce it. And depending when you're getting that sugar in your system, it might not even be that big a deal. So, like, what kind of sugars are you talking about? Like, when you say sugars in everything, like, what specifically are you talking about?
Just like when I'm reading labels, like I see there's like a total sugar and like total added sugar on there,
Yeah.
and it just every time I read one, it's not a zero. And that's where I'm at. Like I don't.
Don't stress about that. I'm trying to think if the big stuff is like just understanding the names of it. It's not like when you read the ingredients, it's not just the numbers, it's in the ingredients. So if you see the ingredients and it says cane sugar, high fructose corn syrup, oh, what the hell else? It's got sugar has several different names, numerous different names that it goes by. And if you can decode that and identify, oh, okay, this is actually because a lot of times like health foods, right? Health foods, prepackaged stuff that's labeled as like healthy or organic or whatever, they're still loaded with a bunch of sugar. And if you're not aware of it, then it'll send your carbs like through the roof. So you just have to be aware. And as long as you're aware, then you can choose better. Like
Yeah.
nothing's gonna be perfect. If you can get it to a net zero, cool. But if you freak out about like sugar in anything, even if you have fruit, that's gonna have sugar in it. So it's still gonna say sugar, even though it's not the end of the world. You're eating fruit, wouldn't freak out about that.
Yeah. I think other than that, I'm doing good. I need to eat less carbs and more protein, but I'm in the ballpark of where I should be.
Okay. Where are you at?
So I'll just use yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had a lot was the highest I've had so far with carbs. I had 250 grams and 200 grams of protein, but I had a burrito from Chipotle and I didn't realize until I went online how much carbs that tortilla
Yep.
had. So that's what made that so high. But I'm doing well today. I'm still short of my calories, but I'm going to eat something after this and then be done for the day. But I'm at 168 grams of protein and 80 grams of carbs today.
Okay.
And then, but yeah, I'm still trying to figure out like how, I guess just to get used to it, this is what I should make to know that I can eat this amount of this and this amount of that and getting started weighing stuff. And yeah, I'm learning the ropes still.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the best way or like the most effective way to do it is you're still doing basically like playing whack-a-mole throughout the day. So like at the end of the day, so like we're at the end of Sunday and you're like, okay, I still have to get this and this. How am I going to do it? Right.
Mhm.
When you're done with doing that, like for this week, start looking at specific meals, as many as you could do. You don't have to freak out about doing the whole day, but take the meals that you know you're going to eat and put them into whatever you're tracking. What are you using? MyFitnessPal?
For like to log my stuff or my workout stuff.
No, to log your food.
I'm using the daily tracker thing that Google Sheets document.
Are you using anything like a tracking app on your phone?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So that would make it a little bit easier.
Okay.
That'll make it a little bit easier. I'll text you just a screenshot of MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal
Mhm.
is probably the easiest one that I've used, but there's many different apps that you can use. And all you got to do for a lot of stuff is scan barcodes and it puts it right in.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yep. And then you just take those numbers and you transpose it and you like just copy and paste basically into the tracker. And then that's basically the tracker is basically for me. You know what I mean? So if you want me to look at it and then it's all logged in there, that's the biggest thing that's for.
I've been like doing everything like in my head and on the calculator. And
Yeah,
okay.
we can make that a little bit easier for you. So take a look at this app tonight and then see if you can use that to put your food in for tomorrow. At least for the meals that you're 100% sure like this food is going to be eaten tomorrow. You put it in prior, right? So you're like preloading all these meals, as many as you can throughout the day. And then you'll know at the end of the day, I already know what's left before you even get there.
Okay.
So it makes it a lot easier just to follow.
Yeah. I'm getting a pretty good hang of like how a normal day schedule is going to be like during the week. It's on the weekends though, and just like even sometimes during the week, I don't like it's tough to know how much to eat when. Like today, I had a steak and a little bit of pasta, and I was like so full, but it was like a almost pound New York strip, like it was big,
Yeah.
and I wasn't hungry for a long time. And then when I was supposed to be eating, I was like, I'm not really hungry at all, and I don't know, it was just I'm just still trying to get my body to know when to eat, or maybe I should have eaten less and then ate the same amount later on in the day, or maybe I'm just overthinking it. But
Yeah, you're overthinking it a little bit. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many meals that you get in throughout the day. It can be one, it can be seven. Like as long as you're getting the number in, you're getting the number in. And
okay,
total calories, total protein. That's what we're looking at. And weekends are easy for people to like this. If you work a normal like 5 days on, 2 days off, like weekends are a pain in the ass, at least as a coach.
yeah,
It's do not derail yourself on the weekends. That can derail you by not eating at all or by throwing everything away and be like, oh, it's party time. Fuck it. Like it's time for the weekend. Like it doesn't work like that. You got to stay relatively on track throughout the weekend. And you can give yourself a little bit of flex, but a little bit of flex isn't, yeah, don't track, go drink, like all that kind of stuff. That's not how it works.
yeah,
Because it just won't work. You'll derail the entire week with 2 days. So yeah, but it really doesn't matter. If you want to have some heavy meals, then just save those numbers for those meals. If you want to have a big ass steak, and I'm about honestly, like I didn't eat early in the day because I know that I'm going to cook a couple steaks and I'm going to have a bunch of sweet potatoes and I'm going to put a bunch of butter on it. So I needed my fat numbers for later in the day. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to have 2 meals today. All right. Then that's it. So it's just knowing where to put those things. And then if you eat bigger meals, you're obviously going to be full for longer. So just it's not a huge deal. It's just if that's your schedule, that's your schedule. As long as as long as you're planning for it, then you're in control of it. You know?
Yeah.
Then you're in the driver's seat. And that's really what we need you in the driver's seat.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That answers like another one. Then like it doesn't matter how many meals I get in as long as I'm hitting the number and stuff like that. So I went golfing the other day and at 9 a.m. and I was like, what am I supposed to eat? Like I don't because like I'll be here till 1 or 2 and by that point I'll be like starving and then I got to drive home and it'll be like I don't know. I was just like I ended up just bringing some food with me, but yeah, that answers my question though.
Yep. And like the biggest thing, man, is make sure that you're planning. If you know you're going golfing and hey, I need some food because I'm going to be hungry. just know what you're going to get and make sure that that fits for what your goals are,
Yeah.
or bring your food yourself.
And then, so I guess this is a random question, but I just thought of it. If I get so I'll just use that as an example. Say if I get like a burger at a pro shop somewhere, how am I supposed to, like, how should I just like Google like a hamburger?
Yeah, that's where MyFitnessPal is very helpful, because you have to assume, right? If you're getting stuff from a pro shop or something like that, like it's gonna be real low quality. Like the beef is not gonna be grass fed. It's not gonna be like good quality. So if you just find a 70-30 hamburger, like a high fat hamburger, and you put that in just generic, Pal has it in. And cheeseburger, generic, whatever, like bunch of fat, like, all right, that's probably close enough. So that'll give you an idea. It's not gonna be perfect because you're buying like crap food from a pro shop, but at least you'll have an idea, and it'll show you right there. If you're like, I'll have burger and maybe some fries, you put it in and you're like, no, I think I'm gonna pass on the fries. Maybe I'll just have the burger. Or I've done this before where I'm tracking it and I'm like, oh man, burger and fries sounds good. And I'm adding it up and I'm like, maybe just a burger. And then I look at what I'm going to eat the rest of the day and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'll just get a water. Because I know I'm going to be off my numbers if I have it and I have the food I want later. It's pretty good because it gives you a visual, and it's like you plug it in before you eat it is the thing. You don't plug it in afterwards, because then you're like, fuck, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do now? So just plug it in before you eat it. That way, you know what the consequence is going to be from this decision. And it makes it a little bit more like real and in your face. And it's a pretty good tool that way.
Yeah. Okay. But other than that, I don't think I have any other questions. I've been doing pretty good about drinking water. I haven't really had anything else but water. And I had a little bit of milk the other day, but that's about it. And that, yeah. But other than that, like I can definitely tell like my energy throughout the day has gone up a little bit.
Good.
Just I don't feel like I'm about to fall asleep at 4 p.m. anymore.
That's awesome. And we're 3 or 4 pounds down. So even if what's that?
I think because
All right. So put it in context this way. Even if just changing the time of day, like reduced it by a couple pounds, you're still a couple pounds down.
Yeah.
That's what I would assume.
Okay.
I think that's a fairly safe assumption. You're anywhere from 2 to 3 pounds down in a week worth of doing this. Yeah, man. I think that's good. How hungry are you on a daily basis?
In the morning, I'm pretty hungry. Not so much on the weekend because I sleep in a little bit more because I normally wake up at like 5:30.
Yeah.
During the week. And I wait till 9. But like today I slept until 8:30 or 9. And after 10 p.m., if I stay up, like I stayed up to watch the NBA and NHL finals, and I watch UFC every Saturday. So I stay up for that, and I get pretty hungry after 10, and it's tough to not just wander into the kitchen and get something to eat. But throughout the day, I'm not super hungry, but I've done just throughout the day, I'm not super hungry, but I stay pretty busy a lot.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, man, just stay on the numbers, keep getting the protein, keep getting the total calories. We'll dial it in tighter with the app. Once you pick up that app, that MyFitnessPal, play around with that, check that out. That's going to make it even easier for you, because it's easier. Ideally, theoretically, it'll be better because it's easier. It's the whole point of technology. Yeah, let's just keep doing that and see where things are in a week.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's all I got.
Sweet. That's it, man. That's it.
All right.
So
All right.
yeah, I'll send that screenshot of the app, and then throughout the week, if you got questions, just text me, hit me up.
Okay. Will do.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks. Thank you.
Yep.